We'll be doing the last share in Hilchos Yuchsin before Pesach. The next shiurim in the afternoons will be on Mechiras Chametz. You have the booklets by you, and what I want you to learn is the first section of the booklet, which is the Seder Mechiras Chametz of the Alter Rebbe. The rest that's in the booklet is for reference purposes. We will reference it, but I'm not expecting you to learn 200 pages in 2 weeks. But keep it, because I don't think you'll get something similar to it anywhere else. I want to discuss today סימן Yud Gimel in העזר. סימן Yud Gimel, I'm going to discuss the first, a bulk of סימן Yud Gimel, which is המתנת, Tzadik Yoim, the 90-day waiting period. The other part of סימן Yud Gimel is about waiting 24 months. I'm not going to get into it now too much, but I'm going to get more into the first part of סימן Yud Gimel, which is the waiting of 90 days. The Shulchan Aruch begins by saying that when you have סימן Yud Gimel, when you have a woman that got divorced, or she became almana, has to wait 90 days, 90 total days. That does not include the day the get was received, and does not include the day that she wants to get remarried. The day the get was received, the day the husband died, which means it's essentially 92 days if you count the day that the get was given and the day that she wants to get remarried, or the day that the husband died and the day that she wants to get remarried. The reason for it is to see if she is pregnant or she's not pregnant, and if she is pregnant, to know who the baby is from. If she would get married, if she would become pregnant a few days before the get or before her husband passed away, and then she gets married a short time after the get, and the night after the get, then she has a baby 8 and a half months later, we have no way of knowing if the baby should be, if the father is the one from before the get or before the ptira, or the one from after the ptira. There's a machlokes over here, the Mechira from the day that was written. The Ramah says that the minhag is that you count on the day that the get was given. And the Ramah says it's roi lahachmer. It doesn't say you have to be machmer, it's roi lahachmer. It's a good machmer to count 90 days from the day that the get was given. Now, this applies whether the woman is roi lahoilid, she's not roi lahoilid. Even if the husband was in Medina Sayam, he sent a get from somewhere else, or he was in jail. The Chachamim made a gzeira, and because of loy plug, the gzeira is 92 days, 90 days. We call it 92 days, regardless of the situation. There is even though b'derech klal the Sfardim paskin like the Mechaber and the Ashkenazim paskin like the Ramah, there is a long-standing tradition by the Sfardim that you paskin in Inyonei Even Ha'ezar Ha'chamurim. Even the Sfardim will follow the Ramah whenever it says L'hachmer. Rabbi Ovadia Yosef in Yabia Oimer Chelik Vav, Even Ha'ezar Siman Beis, says that this does not apply to this machlekes of Mechaber Ramah, because over here the Ramah doesn't say you have to be machmer. Over here the Ramah says roi lahachmer, and therefore, since the Ramah says roi lahachmer, only you should be machmer, you don't have to be machmer. So therefore, follow the minhag in your place. So if the minhag is to follow the Ramah that you wait 90 days from the day of nesinas haget, then you do it. And if there's no such minhag, then you could follow the Mechaber that you go from 90 days from ksivas haget. That's Rav Ovadia Yosef's position. Shas Tshuvas Yaskil Avdi, which was a little bit before Rav Ovadia Yosef, also in Eretz Yisrael, he writes in Chelik Daled Even Ha'ezar Siman Ches that you have to be machmir, and he says that because this is one of the Inyonei Even Ha'ezar Ha'chamurim, and the Ramah says roi lahachmer, you should be machmer. Yaskil Avdi. Yes, Ovadia Hadai. Now, who came with an idea of a heter for the Ashkenazim also, not only for the Sfardim? Yitzchak Herzog, Shas Tshuvas Heichal Yitzchak Chelik Beis Siman Samach Aleph. He says, he puts a chumrah even on the Sfardim. Takes it and he says he's Ashkenazi and he puts a chumrah on the Sfardim. He says that when the Mechaber says that you wait 90 days from Ksivas Haget and not from the Sinas Haget, it only applies when the get was sent by a shliach. That means the husband wrote the get on Tuesday, on Chav Adar, or today is Chavav Adar, Sunday Chavav Adar. The get was written. It was given to the shliach. The shliach traveled with the get. The get only arrived to the woman 5 days from today. Yeah, by Rosh Chodesh, on Thursday. So then you count from the day the get was written. But if the get was written today and the husband was planning on giving it to the wife today, for whatever reason the husband krat stois and didn't do it till Thursday, but even according to the Sfardim, you have to wait 90 days from the day that the get was given. Even what the Mechaber says is only from when the day that the get was written, is only if it was sent by Bayoim with a shliach. But at the same time that he's throwing a chumrah on the Sfardim, he's also giving some leeway to the Ashkenazim. And he says, at first, since the Ramah says Roy lahachmer, not Yesh lahachmer, so if it's a Shasat Chag Gadol, then the Ashkenazim could rely on the Mechaber, and you could be makel like the Mechaber. That's Yitzchak Herzog and Yitzchak. The one who disagreed with him was Harav Kook in Ezra's Koyin Siman Tes, that he says that you have to be machmir even b'shas adchak. We will get soon to the Tzemach Tzedek, who does mention this machlokes when he says that even according to the Sfardim you should be machmir.
When he says even Ashkenaz could be makel das mechaber,
Shas adchak.
that would be the shitosei when it's idea shliach.
Yes. The way he explains the mechaber, because his svara is it has to do with at least then there's no more shaila of yichud between them. If the husband didn't give it until 5 days later, we have a chashash maybe the husband was with her again. Mashenkin, if he already gave it to a shliach, we know that it's not no monkey business happening afterwards. So Lashita Soy, the way he explains the mechaber, he also says that b'shas adchak you could rely on it. What would shas adchak be? Lashita Soy probably be if a woman receives a get, and the get was sent. The get was sent by mail, which is in itself a kula. But today we rely on it. Yeah, we're not going to get to it this year in learning, but Tzemach Tzedek doesn't like the idea of sending a get by mail. And then it got stuck in customs. Went international. FedEx got stuck in customs for a month. She already planned. There's already a wedding date and everything planned with the other guy. Yeah, we're not going to ask questions how she knows already the other guy. Whatever the Maisa, that's the story. They made a mistake. They calculated, they got the get, and she actually thought to wait less days, and she didn't count the 90 days properly. She not 92. She said they're 2 off. Then you could be making. He says because it's only the get.
Doesn't the Bishmol say that?
Huh?
Doesn't the Bishmol say that it has to do with just like Shliach specifically?
But again, and the Heichal Yitzchak takes it as that is he paskin.
Saying that it's specifically talking about a case and stuff.
Yeah, what they're saying is that the Heichal Yitzchak takes it and says because he wants to use it to be makel for the Ashkenazim also. So he says this is paskin like the Bishmol, but at the same time you can't take it. Bishmol was an Ashkenazi, so the Sfardim don't have to accept the Bishmol's understanding of the Mechaber. They're not obligated to understand that Ashkenazi understood the Sfardi. It's not their problem. Ashkenazi has a right to understand Ashkenazi. They don't have to follow Bishmol. A woman that they took Now, a woman that they took out her rechem, and so there's no way she could become pregnant. It's not a skena, it's not a mesulekes damim, it's not any of that sort. They took out her rechem. This Nishmas Avram brings in the name of Hashem Zaman Erbach, same Gzeres Chachamim, just like Chachamim weren't made any differentiation between skena and not, it also applies to any form of medical. Doesn't have to be, just like a saris, it also doesn't, the Gzeres still applies. Same thing is even if the woman is in a situation that medically there's no way she could become pregnant, they took out her rechem, it's still, she's still, the Gzeres Chachamim stays in place and we don't make any games about it. Now, I did find, since we're discussing this topic, one scenario where they were makel. There's more than one scenario, but I'll discuss some of the scenarios that are makel. There is a story where a woman left her husband, and she was living with somebody else, be'isur gomer, with rayas and everything. There's no question about it. And the achlata of the bezdin at the time was to be mezakeh her get. Mezakeh get, zikui get, and in such a scenario, mezakeh the get, so at least you save her from isur. But even when you're mezakeh the get, the seder of zikui get is that you put the get. The husband is still then, after the zikui, the husband takes the get and is b'maneh shliach lahilocha to bring the get to the woman when she's ready to accept it. So the mezakeh get in Tavshin Pei, let's say. Tavshin Pei, the mezakeh get. Then Tavshin Pei Beis, she came, the tshuva, she wants to pick up her get. She dumped the guy that she was living with, the tshuva, took care of her mental health issues, came back, it's all good. Now she got a get from this guy. She got a get, she picked up the get. She did tshuva, and now she wants to marry somebody else, somebody she was not with, somebody who was not usher to her, another Jew. And she came to the bezdin, and she wanted to get married. The bezdin the shaila was that she have to wait 92 days. There was no... she was not a frum person, and there was a chashash that it's not going to be beneficial to make her wait so long. So there's, in the book of Rav Ullman's Shalsa Tshuvas called Lishkas Adorim, Siman Zayin, or Siman Nun, sorry, he wrote a whole explanation why you should be mutter in such a scenario, because Zikui Aget, and then the Nasinas Aget was later not to be machmir like the Ramah, and he had over there the Askama of Rav Eliashiv, Baal Peh, and the Askama of Rav Zalman Nechemi Goldberg, and Harav Eliezer. They were all maskim in such a scenario where there was a zikui, where there was a get al yidei zikui, and not a get, and only after she came to pick it up that she doesn't have to wait. Now, if a person was, I don't know, she got a get from the second, she didn't get from the second, she's living with him be'isr, there was no kiddushin. She's not miyuchedes to anybody.
If the zikra get was considered to be the get, then if they were still living after that one time, so there is, but
Maybe, I don't know, but I don't think they did in second get. We don't look to make get unless it's a svara. It's just people just living together. If they're living together and they have kids and everything, yeah. She's separated from him already. Maybe she wanted to marry him. Sif Dal, the general rule, and this is also, if anybody was by a get, you would know by a get, you make the achraz of the Rav HaMasad, a get at the end of the get says you have to wait 92 days to the woman. Sif Dal, you know, machzik rusha, so you don't have to wait 92 days. That means if the person decides that the night of the get, he gave the get, he changed his mind. That night he wants to marry her again. Doesn't have to wait 92 days. There's no shaila of waiting. Now, because for a practical shaila, why would somebody want to marry the woman he just divorced? It's a shaila. And the answer is very simple. And this I heard from somebody who was machzik rishosei. He told me it's an old word. And he says that for zivug rishon, this woman was mamish a disaster. Noch the get for zivug sheni is better from whatever else is on the market. Better than anything else you could get. Anyways, that's Sifdal. There's no shaila of machzik rishosei. There's no shaila of mixing up the zera when it comes to machzik rishosei. Now go to Sifei Gioiris. Yeah.
Is there any medical procedures or ever that you wouldn't have to wait 90 days?
After a get or after an almana? No.
Always going to be part of
It's always. The medical thing will only come in this case and when it comes to Gioiris. When it comes to Gioiris, there is more leeway. Because the gzera is not so strong. But when it comes to grusha or almana, there is nothing whatsoever. By a chalitza, you don't have to wait 92 days because the chalitza is done 92 days after the 92 days you wait before the chalitza. There's never a chalitza done within 90 days of the man's passing. The first thing you do is wait 92 days, then you do the chalitza. Huh? Why should not for chalitza before then?
You have to wait 3 months for Yibum.
Huh?
Because you have to wait for Yibum, you have to wait 3 months.
But why?
Is that the halacha?
Yeah, but why?
Same reason.
Same reason. So I'm saying is, but usually by a get you wait 92 days after the get. By Yibum, since you waited 92 days before the chalitza, before the Yibum, so you don't have to wait. And after the chalitza is done, you get married that night. Sifei discusses a gioiris which was married, Goya which was married and then she converted. She has to wait the 92 days before she marries anybody else. That's only if she was married. If she was not married before, she doesn't have to wait. Even though we're choishish that maybe she was mezana, she still doesn't have to wait. It means if we know that she's a pnuya and she is not. And what's marriage for this purpose? So that she's miyuchedes. If she was miyuchedes to somebody that were living together as a husband and wife, even though they weren't civilly married, the goya, she still has to wait. She still has to wait 92 days. What? We'll get to it. We'll get to it soon. We'll gear this from more Mekel. So how do you know the Shalas Tshuvas base of which anybody who ever opened the Eitzer HaChochma or Hebrew books, it's the first one, is the same person, the one who the first book in Eitzer HaChochma, the top one, of Bechachma. So he also wrote a sefer Shalas Tshuvas base of. And over there in his tshuvas, he was a Rav in New York, he was a Rav in a bunch of cities, and in his Shvi'ah, Siman Beis, he says that if a woman, he was a Rav in America, so he knew the situation, he says if a Goya is converting for the purpose of marrying a specific guy, their boyfriend, girlfriend, it's a dove or a border that she was mezana with him, and she has to wait. Don't even ask her any questions. She says, you don't have to start asking. She was living with him, she wasn't living with him. She converted for him, make her wait 92 days. But these are the people that hold only if you have a chashash that maybe she was mezana. The Radbaz takes the whole extreme all the way to the other end and says, every guy is becheskes mezana, and therefore they always have to wait 92 days. This is brought in Pischei Tshuva. On the spot, you'll see it. The Radbaz, he says you always have to wait 92 days. And the same thing with Melamed Lahoyel and a lot of other people. Why? Because this whole idea that we have in Gemara that says that by a mezana she's misapeches is only applies to a yid. That's what the Radbaz says. The Radbaz says by goyim they're not worried about it. There's no shayla, there's no chashash that they're going to do misapeches, and therefore every guy is becheskes mezana for the same reason why every goya is becheskes zayin is a surah l'koyin, and therefore every time you have to wait 92 days. The what Metzias today is better than the Radbaz's days. The guys today are more careful. Even the Yidden are not careful today. weiß nicht, no. Rav Eliashiv, Krevis Chuvas Chelik Bey Siman and Ches, has something which today almost every Bezdin follows, and that is, he says that if a woman comes to convert, and since Namol, talking about it, they used to come to convert, and Boy Be'em Shulchan Aruch says you may guide them the same day they come. Today, that's not how the system works. Today, the way it works is that the person comes to convert, and make them learn. It could be months, it could be years till the Gedus happens. So Rabbi Eliashiv says in Krevis Shuvas, if a woman comes to convert, tell her, separate now from your husband, from your boyfriend, whatever it is, before the Gedus. And then afterwards, there's 3 months that she separated from him, and we have in the Bezdin has rayas that she was not mezana. During that time, we are megaya her, and she could get married right away, because Rabbi Yashiv says that the din in hamtana is not a chiyuv, is not a din in being a ben Yisrael, a bas Yisrael. You could have the hamtana is a physical thing, is a practical thing. So it doesn't make a difference if she did the hamtana before the Gedus, and we know for sure she did the hamtana, so it also works. So today, a lot of but they didn't will do that. They will make them separate before the Gedus, live in two separate places, not in two separate beds. It means two separate, as they live in a different place in the same property, and they should be. And then the day of the Gedus is the day that they will do a chuppah the same day as the Gedus. Everything is done the same day. She's table for a Gedus. It also counts as a tefillah for nida, and it also counts as a tefillah before the chasna, and do the chasna boy bayayim. If the goy and the goya are converting together, which doesn't happen too often in America, but happens in a lot of South American cases. They come as a family, they all convert together. Then you have to still do the separation, because the same idea of avchana that you have to separate between a zera of husband number 1 and a zera of husband number 2, over here we want to be separate between zera shenizra b'kedusha to zera shenizra shalei b'kedusha. What nafkamina there would be in such a scenario? If a woman is pregnant when she converts, and then she has a girl, that girl cannot marry a kohen. She's a surah kohen, because there's a machloikas. If when uber yerachimai, what the din is, it was learned before in a few simanim ago. Uber yerachimai. So when a pregnant woman converts and she has a daughter, shaila is, does that mean that this baby is a convert that converted with the mother, or that it was born as a Jew? So if you don't wait 3 months, the girl is born 7.5 months after the Gedus, she wants to marry a kohen, you have a suffix. You have a big suffix. She mutter l'kona, she asur l'kona. So yes, the shit is which hold one way or the other, but then you're going into a shaila. Maybe the kohen is marrying her b'yisur. But in this case, when they're both coming together, Dagul Mevava says, over here you don't have to go to all the extremes. By a get and a goy that come to convert together, you don't have to go to all the same extremes as avchana. By a get, it comes in avchana as by a grusha and almana. The guys are so strict. Dagul Mevava, he says, bring a pischat over here in Sefkat and Vav. He says you don't have to be machmer by a skena. Chalkas Mechoyka says you don't have to be machmer by a ktana. The Marsham and the Chidah and everybody else says if she's muberes from him, you also don't have to wait, obviously, because you know already that it's from him. And the shevet, this is where it comes to the medical. If she brings a pregnancy test from a doctor, not the home pregnancy tests, there's a blood test from a doctor that she's not pregnant. Shevet Alevi Chelik Ches Siman Reish Ayin. This is important, Mekaymis to know. The Vayan David Chelik Hev and Ezer Siman Yudalad, and the Abia Oimer Chelik Tes Even Ezer Siman Yudzayin all say that if a woman brings a pregnancy test, she's converting a Gioiris, she does not have to wait the 92 days.
Is it possible that it doesn't pick it up very early?
The doctor will tell you if it's, ask when was the last period and we'll find out. Geiris, yeah, because the Gzeir of Chachamim was not there. It was not so strict by Ger and the Geiris. The Igros Moshe, Evan-Ezer, Chelik Bey, Siman Hey says, same thing applies if she was Piris Anida. You see that she got her period. You know she's not pregnant. You know she's not pregnant, and therefore you don't have to wait the 92 days by a Gioiris. Now, I mentioned to you before that the hafrosha of a ger and a gioiris, if you do it, you could do it before, but you have to know what it is. So somebody might think that is just two beds in the same house. So you have the chuvas, and then chuvas and Hagas Chel Gimel Siman Shin Gimel says they have to be in two separate houses. Two separate houses, or in the same house with shoymrim that are shmira for yichud. Same thing is from Rav Eliashiv. Sif Zayin, a pilegesh that is miyuchedes la'ish has to wait also 92 days, and even though she does not need a get, according to the Pashas Lashon Shulchan Aruch, we already know that l'chatchila tzemach tzedek says you should get a get. We discussed it in the past. According to this idea, if you compare pilegesh to a civil marriage, the same thing would be if a woman separates after civil marriage or reform marriage or conservative marriage or even long-term living together. You should have to wait any form of miyuchedes, you should have to wait 92 days before she is allowed to marry somebody else. Sif Tes, yeah, in Shulchan Aruch, if a woman got divorced, and then there was a koil psul on the get, and they wrote a new get only because of laws, because of the rumors. She has to wait from the second get, not from the first get, even though the second get was only written mishum laz. And the Ramah adds over there, same thing is if she was nisgarish because of kol קידושין be'alma. And what kol קידושין be'alma is, that's the Rashba, one of the 6 or 7 or 8 shuvas of the Rashba, which I already went through in the previous shir with you, that the way Tzemach Tzedek says you have to be machmer like everyone over here, that same thing, if she was only nisgarish because of kol קידושין, she still has to wait for the second get. Yeah, even the Ramah, this is a machlokes if you have to wait from the second get or not, when it's only koil psul. The Ramah says you have to be machmer. The Mechaber brings to it, it seems like you don't have to, lav dafka, you have to be machmer. The Sha'as of Shuvas and Tzemach Tzedek have an Ezra Siman Mem Gimel. This is what I mentioned to you before, that there is a Tzemach Tzedek which discusses this machlokes from the beginning of the Siman, about the machlokes Mechaber Ramah. If you wait from the ksivas haget or from the nesinas haget, and also the same machlokes would apply over here also. Yeah, the same logic would come across over here also. If the only get was written only because of koil psul, that doesn't mean that there's any chashash that it was together, because he already gave a get. The first get might be kosher, so why would he do it? Tzemach Tzedek which says that Even HaEzer Siman Gimel, that this is obviously only talking about when the second get was written because of a koil pisul. Not there was mamish pasul. If you checked if the get was written, the first get was written, and you see that afterwards it was checked, and it was given in his body that the get was mamish pasul. They wrote the wrong name or something like that. Something along those lines. The first get is completely pasul, and then you need a second get. The second get was not written because of laws, like over here in Sif Tes, but the second get was written because the first get is completely pasul. So even according to the Mechaber, who holds that you wait 92 days from the day of writing the get and not from the day of giving the get, over here in this case, it would be from the second get. Because you can't combine the two shittas together and say that you're going to wait from the writing of the first get. No, if the get is mamish pasul, not only koil psul, So even though logically speaking you would be able to say that the same logic applies, what's the logic why you wait for the day of writing the get? Because there's no chashash that you would be together with her again. But here, when the mamash apostle get, the Machzedek says you can't use that logic and say that you have to wait 90 days from the first get. Taki, you could wait 92 days from the writing of the first get according to the mechaber, for the people who follow the mechaber, but it will have to be 92 days from the writing of the second get. You can't combine the kula of the first siman and the first if and the kula of the second one. What? It doesn't say in Shulchan Aruch either way or the other way. We follow the svara. Follow the logical reason. Why did the Chachamim made a gzera? You have to know the difference between the first husband's zera and the second husband's zera. The mechaber takes it, and the way the mechaber understands miyem ksivas haget, the logic of the mechaber is, and especially if you take it the way that was understood by the Shmuel, that once a husband wrote a get, did a maisa that he's going to give a get, we're not choishish anymore that he's going to be with her again. We're not choishish that there's any. You don't have to take the gzeir of Chachamim to the extreme that you're choishish that she's going to be with him again, and then you have to be worried until mamash the day of the get, until she receives the get. Elamai, the moment he gave her the get, it's out of his mind. It's over. Especially if it's through a get shlichus, yeah? And the Ramah says, no, the Gzeres Chachamim is the Gzeres Chachamim, that as long as a woman, that you count 92 days from the moment she became divorced, from the moment she is a grosha. You don't start making cheshbonos the day the get was written, the day the get was delivered, the day the get traveled, the day this, the day that. The day she receives the get is when you count 92 days. If we write a get only because of koil be'alma, so the mechaber himself has two svaras, whether you have to be machmer according to the first, you have to wait from the second get, or you have to wait from the first get, right? So the Machzedek takes it a step further. If you're going to follow logic, you might be able to say that it doesn't only apply for yotza koil lazal a get, even if the first get was pasul. Not talking about bottle. Talking about get pasul. There's a get pasul and get bottle. Get bottle is the bottom of the rice. Get pasul is pasul with the rabbanon. Yeah, it's talking about a get pasul. If you have a get pasul and the woman see, if you follow the logic of the mechaber, there's no reason why you should wait 92 days from the second get. The same logic that if he sends the get, he's not being together with her. So he sent the first get in Rosh Chodesh Kislev, and then the get came to the shlichus, came in Rosh Chodesh Teves to the other town, and the Rav over there looked at it and says, "Hey, this is not the wife's father's name. The Bezdin in Israel, the Bezdin in London made a mistake. They put the wrong name. The get is pasul. Yeah, it's a toast in the Shem Aviv. The get is pasul. Send it back. Make a new get." She gets married. She gets married. You want to know if the kids will be mamzerim or not? It's a separate question. We'll try to figure out a head to lacha ma'isa. We're not doing that. Talk about the get is here. We have to fix it. Won't be mamzerim. Yeah. So now the get. So they call back to Paris and they say, "Oh, hey, you sent the get which has a mistake. The get is possible. Send us a new get." So they call the husband back. He sent a new get. Now this is a Chodesh Teves, right? The first get was a Chodesh Kislev. Now comes a Chodesh Teves. So he comes to Bezdin, Tezvav Teves. He's not available. Sends the next get is written Tezvav Teves. Comes and the get is written Tezvav Teves. They send it. Second get. So according to the Svar of the Mechaber, when does she have to count 90 days from? The original Svar of the Mechaber, from Chodesh Kislev. So Rosh Chodesh Kislev, Rosh Chodesh Teves, Rosh Chodesh Shvat, Rosh Chodesh Adar, she'll be able to get married in Chodesh Adar. But if you say that you don't follow, according to that logic, even if the first get was possible, but Poil, it's already out. There's already afchana by the mere fact that he sent the get. And that's it, and showing what? Because now he found out that the get is possible, so retroactively he's going to be with her for the previous month that he wasn't with her. He thought the get was done already. So that's what Tzedek is telling you, you can't rely on that. So what happens now? So the get is sent Tezvav Tevis. Yeah? The get is written Tezvav Tevis. The get is written Yud Tevis. Take a better example. The get is written Yud Tevis.
Yeah, it's hard to call Chaber. Feel Bailam bin Zayam. That's what it is.
Yeah, but that's for Hamtana, but you still count from Ksivas Haget.
The first get is no longer a get. It's possible. It's always get.
The get is not Osir. The get is not Batal. The get is possible. That's the thing. That's what Tzedek says. So it says, Tzedek says she's still Neshesish. She's still the first get. If you're counting 90 days from Ksivas Haget, she's still Neshesish. It's not 90 days that she's not a Neshesish. She doesn't become a Grush at the moment the get is written. She becomes a Grush at the moment the get is received. According to Mechaber, if the get took 3 months to travel, B'yom Ksivas Haget, Al Yidei Shliach, took her 3 months to travel, she'd get married that night. Pashas Lashon Mechaber. So that's what Tzedek is telling you. Don't think of that. So what happens is, a get is written Asara B'Tevis, the second get. So if according to Mechaber, she'll wait 3 months, she'll get married right before Pesach. If you wait till the get travels, then she's stuck. Because the get will come Chveis and Shvat, or the end of Tevis. If you wait 3 months, you hit Sfira Seimer, and you have a problem. She's not going to get married till Lag Baimer. Okay, I had a shaila a few years ago. There was a girl who received a ring from one of her boyfriends, and the girl gave her friend, the boy, a ring, and sometime later she wanted the ring back. However, they got into a fight. He didn't want to give her the ring back. He says he's only giving her the ring back if I will say the words. And she understood. She says she understood and she agreed that he's going to say the word. And he said, and there was 4 people there. And she said, etc. And these were the Eidim. There was no Yichud. Right after this Nesinas Atabas, from him back to her, there was Yichud down the line, without getting into too much details. But the Eidim and the other Yichud were people that are Apostle Eidus, Krevi Mishpach. And then years passed. She did tshuva, she became a good girl, and she got engaged to somebody. And she didn't think about this whole thing with Chol. And she spoke to her Rav in town, and the Rav says, she set up a date for the wedding and everything. And the Rav says, you have to get a get. You have to get a get. Maybe you have to get a get. Suffolk. The new guy's not a kind, nothing to worry about. Maybe you have to get a get. After you have to get a get. So she says, fine. Get a get. We'll get a get. Track down the guy, and he was fine. It doesn't bother him. Why not? He doesn't have any bad feelings towards her. He's already married. Let her get married, and he'll send the get. He came. He doesn't remember anything. He came to Bezdin. He says he doesn't remember anything, such a thing happening. That he ever gave a ring or anything like that. If she insists that such a thing happened, fine. He'll give a get. It's not a problem. There's nothing against it. And he sent the get, and the get was received, and she received the get. But the day that the get arrived was less than 3 months before the date that was set already for the wedding. And if they would wait 92 days, it's going to get to I think it was Chidush Adar. It's going to wait 92 days. Then it's going to get pushed off till Shavuos. And there was a svara from people who know that it's better for them to get married. The earlier, the better. Right, so it ended up, one of the shilas that ended up by me, I sat down with the Rabbanim, we went through, the first question was, Bichlal, if she is, the shilas that came to the table, to go through them, was first of all, if she is ne'emenes to say Kiddushtani. It's a Siman Memches and Even Hazar. the first shaila if she's Bichlal Ne'eman. If she Bichlal is Ne'eman to say Kiddushtani. Over here, all we have is that she says Kiddushtani, but she herself says it's a suffix. Those for sure Eidim Psulim at the time from the 4-2 were related to each other. There's a suffix, maybe there was Eidim Kshedim or there's no Eidim Kshedim. So it becomes a shaila now. He says it's Allah Adam. He doesn't remember such a thing. She says such a thing happened. So there's a shaila. If the most that you can say is Shavi Anafshei. Shaila is you can say Shavi Anafshei is strong enough to say Shavi Anafshei for Isser of Hamtana. The shaila is if Shavi Anafshei applies, that's the first shaila. The second shaila is, even if you'd say that there is Shavi Anafshei, was there an actual Maisa Kiddushin, right? Because you have no, even if her words without anything Kiddushtani, Shaila of Shavi Anafshei, because he denies it. Even if you say that it is true that Kiddushtani, Shaila is, if he would agree that there was some form of Kiddushin, do we have any Eidus? Do we have any Eidus on the Kiddushin or not? Maybe we know for sure there's Eidim Psulim there. We have a suffix if those Eidim Kshedim also, but we know for sure there's Eidim Psulim. Is that suffix enough to take away from her the Cheskas Pnuya that she has? So what are we left with? Maybe there was Kol Kiddushin that we saw in our Siman. Maybe it was Kol Kiddushin. She got a get because of Kol Kiddushin. The shaila is what's a Kol Kiddushin. So this was already, we went through it in the previous shiurim. If a Kol means a Kol, there was Ischazik in Bezin, all the tshuvas of the Rashba. But over here, even if you want to say, you can't say there was Mitzam Kol Kiddushin. Because Kol Kiddushin, some Kol. Over here, there's no Mitzam Kol Kiddushin. Over here, the only reason she received the get is because of her dibur. Back to her dibur, that she said that there was such a thing that happened. He himself denies it. The Bezin never require the get. But see, someone said, if the story is like what you said, then you should probably work on getting a get. But the Poel, no Bezin required him to give a get. No Bezin required her to receive a get. So the shaila is, do you have to wait 92 days or not? But I wrote this thing up and I got other Dayanim to sign it. I didn't even sign it myself. I just sent it to Fir Rabbanim and I got some Rabbanim to sign on it. Grada the Dayan in the city where this person lives refused to agree with me. And he said, if a get is given, you have to wait 92 days. But he said he's not going to argue. There's enough Rabbanim that say so. But he's stating his opinion. B'poil, after everything, so I met with this guy and I told him this is the story. You know, they have all these Rabbanim which say that it's fine. Grada, the Dayan in your town disagrees. Doesn't think that it's such a good idea, at least on Tzad HaSafek. So I'm just telling you Dvarim Kavyasim. So they made a conscious decision and they did not proceed with it. They pushed it off 9 days. The whole thing was just an exercise and something for me to write. It was nice, anyways. I ended up writing a whole discussion on the matter. But
what was he say to be makel? What was he say not to?
There's no Kol Kiddushin.
Since it's just she as well.
Yeah, there's no Kol Kiddushin. The din of Shavi Anafshei over here. Say Shavi Anafshei and Amton Sadik Beis Yom is Bichlal. Is Bichlal a Shaila. There's no Kiddushin to begin with, there's no Kol Kiddushin. And the most you have is Midin Shavi Anafshei, and then go into a Shaila. If Shavi Anafshei applies when she didn't know that Bedibura she's going to create an Isser for herself. So I didn't write that it's mutter, I it's also. I just sent it off as a question to Rabbanim and B'payil. That's what it looked to me like it was going to be mutter. That is what that is the ma'aseh what happened with this story. Now the rest of the Siman after this seif talks about hamtana of 24 months. Now the hamtana of 24 months, I didn't plan on getting into it today, but there is not much to talk about it. But today there are ways a lot more ways to be mekel than there was in the past, even though it's also Gzeres Chachamim. But today, if it's a scenario where the Rabbanim look that there's a reason to be mekel, then we will be mekel in such a thing. The only place where there's absolutely no way to be mekel, even in today's day and age, is they're separated from themselves before the Geirus and everything else, for Amtana of 92 days. But for Amtana but for a Grush, it's very important to remember this. People might not talking about a Grush and Almana. By Bgiyoret, the Dogel Mervava is mekel by a Skena, and the Chakas Mechagig is mekel by a Ktana. They are not mekel that by a Almana, by a Grusha. So there was Harakal that they took the same logic that you be mekel. The Chacham weren't Geyser so strict by Bgiyoret and applied it to modern medicine, but you can't apply